Hello, I'm Jackie Toops with OurNewWife101.com, and today we've got Emma Boudah. She is the Milspouse behind the husband and wife team of the Jewelry Republic, and her husband, Greg, is a veteran of the U.S. Marine Corps. Emma is going to talk to us today about what it means to be a Milspouse entrepreneur, what it means to work with your husband, even to do this while on the move and going overseas. And we're going to learn a little bit more about the Jewelry Republic and why they are the jeweler of the military community. So thank you for being here today, Emma.
Well, thank you for having me, Jackie. Absolutely. It's lovely to speak with people over email, so it's always nice to get to see somebody face to face, even if we're on the other side of the world. So.
Yes, what's incredible about this is I'm currently on the East Coast and you're in Bangkok. So it's the morning for me. I'm drinking coffee and you're winding down. It's already 8:30.
We're winding down.
Well, and for those of you who haven't noticed,
it was 8:30 at night.
Yes. Yeah, so here we are coming from two different areas in the world. Also, speaking of coming from a different part of the world, you're from Ireland, which I think is incredible. So I'd love to hear, how did you and your husband, Greg, meet in the first place?
We met when he was on active duty as an MSG. So he was one of the Marine Security Guards attached to a detachment in Tanzania. And that was actually if you can all remember your history here, that was one of the embassies that Osama bin Laden bombed. And shortly after, he had left for another posting. So, you know, that history goes back. So that would have been 98 that happened. So, and we have just been traveling the world ever since. So we were back in the US then for, I think, 5 years. And then we were in Switzerland, we were in Dublin, we were in Belgium. As part of the diamond industry. The diamond industry has a hub there in Antwerp, Belgium. And then now we're here in Bangkok about 12 years. You start to lose count after 10, to be honest. We're here about 12 years now. And this is a global hub for jewelry, for gemstone trading and jewelry manufacturing. So it's really kind of where we need to be for our business right now anyway.
Well, that's fantastic. And I know that you're a graduate gemologist from the Gemological Institute of America and that you manage the design team for the Jewelry Republic. So have you always loved all things that glitter? Have you loved jewels and gemstones your entire life?
I have. I've called myself a magpie. And it began in Tanzania where I started seeing this gemstone called tanzanite. It's this amazing, almost like a shot blue purple color. It's very unique to that gemstone. And suddenly I was going, I've never heard of this. And it started me and my father, we would read together about these different gemstones. We got to learning more. And when we moved out here to Bangkok, I got the opportunity to go to school here with the Gemological Institute of America. And, you know, it was one of those times where you're moving and you're going, what can I make out of myself? Because prior to that, I'd been in HR. And finding, wait, there's a school for this here. This is something I can actually really study, follow this passion I've had just on the side. And honestly, at this point, even if I weren't being paid for it, if this wasn't my career, I would do gemology anyway. It's an interest. I love stones. You get into them, you get into these amazing gemstones that have been in the ground for millions of years. And what's inside of them tells a story. They're so unique, what they do with light and with color. To me, it's just a passion, no matter what. I would do it. And I'm also now studying appraisal through the British National Association of Jewelers as well. There's just never an end to trying to learn and advance yourself. So I enjoy it.
Oh, I agree. And I think it's wonderful because you just said that you used to have a career in HR. And I know what the life is like of a military spouse where you're moving and you've been in several countries. So I think the fact that you and Greg have teamed up to build something together that you're both passionate about is setting a really great example for other military couples as well.
Well, I will say it seemed natural for us to come together. We've kind of been thinking about what business we could start. There's always some frustrations when you're working for somebody else. And we've always been very committed workers. We're always those people who were the last ones to leave. But when your name isn't on the door, Who are you doing it for? How sustainable is it? What is the return on that investment of time and your resources and your energy? And I think it was natural that we would end up starting something ourselves. And the thing is, though, once you become an entrepreneur, you're not going to look back. You become almost unemployable because you suddenly you want to be able to put things into action. You want to be a bigger part. And I honestly think neither of us could go back to being an employee after running our own place. So I think, yeah, this is it for life now.
Well, that's excellent. And I know that takes a great deal of energy and commitment. And do you have to set some sort of boundaries too? So when you're together as a couple or as a family, you're not just talking business all the time?
Well, what I would say is when you're running your own, you do have to be available on weekends. You do have to be available in the evenings or mornings, and you can't be as limited. So that's the sacrifice. But what I would suggest to anybody who's going to start a business with their own spouse or family member, somebody who goes beyond, say, just a general partnership, or actually it really does apply to all, you would want to demarcate your areas you from the beginning. So what we did, and it was very important that we did, was from the beginning, we said, okay, these will be my areas, these will be Greg's areas. And it was based on our experiences and our natural personalities. Greg, for example, will run processes within our factory. The Marine in him is the guy who knows how to put systems in place to manage the movement of our obviously any colored gemstones are my area. Design interpretation would be my area. And in doing that, what it means is that we can both give our opinion very freely, very passionately, if we need to, on the other's area, but the decision ultimately comes down to that person for whom the responsibility lies. But it also means if it goes wrong, then you have to stand up and go, okay, that was me, and what did I do? What can I learn from that? So we found that as a couple, that's very, very essential to our own success and to keeping things fair between us when we come home.
Oh, that's fantastic. And you're a mother too, right?
Yeah, yes, I am. A mother to an 8-year-old boy, which is plenty. Thank you very much. And yeah, he's in school. Thank goodness for schools. I did try the stay at home. I was working at home. I did the work at home mother, and that I will say it was difficult. It's hard to find that flow state. Anybody who's working from home has my sympathy if there are children, of below school age, because your mama ears are on. You can never, what they're up to, even if you have a childminder or a family member to help you. And the children they know you're in the house. They know you're available.
Yes.
I don't know how you do it.
Oh, yes, I agree. Mine are actually at school right now. I also have boys. They're 6 and 8. And I know we tried to time our interview while your son was in bed and mine were at school.
Yes.
Otherwise, they wouldn't happen. No, not at all. So I am talking to you from home. Otherwise, normally I'd be at the factory and there'd be a lot of movement around me because it's always kind of on the go there. It's a very energetic kind of place. Oh, I love that. Well, it sounds like you've definitely found a wonderful passion, an opportunity for you and your husband to build your own empire, have your own freedoms, have the ability to raise your son in various countries around the world, which is very common. I mean, we see that often in military life, like my sons who are Army brats spent 3 years in Germany, and they now want to see the rest of the world if possible. So it does provide a lot of challenges, but a lot of amazing opportunities. And I think it's wonderful that you two have managed to strike this balance. But you're also committed to the military community as well, because I know that the Jewelry Republic offers a military discount. Can you talk a little bit about your involvement with the military?
Oh, we do. We do offer a 10% discount for any military and former military and first responders, of course. For us, one of the things that we remembered and was when we were on bases and looking at the jewelry that was offered, we found it was very conservative and typically it wasn't great quality. You're talking about 9K, 10K plated silver, and they can tell you it's gold plated, gold vermeil, roll gold. Ultimately, what you're talking about is less than a fraction of a hair, and it is plated. in gold unless it's solid 14K or 18K. And we feel like it was almost condescending what was on offer there. And we really felt like we wanted to do designs that are modern, that are clean, and that are high quality, with high quality diamonds and with 18 karat solid gold in yellow and white and rose. And, you know, really nice chain and all of those little details. We put a little diamond on each piece. So there'll be one maybe on the chain, and that way just a little extra.
I love that. I didn't know about the diamond on the chain. They say it's a girl's best friend.
Yes, it is. And that's what's so wonderful, is that with gold and diamonds, they last so long that you do pass them on down. You know, silver on the hand will always tarnish. I know people will tell you it won't, but it always goes. Gold being the delightful element that it is the most, it's stable of all the elements. It doesn't interact, and that's why it stays shiny when you dig it up 1,000 years later, you know.
Well, that's fantastic. And I love the pieces that you offer. I've taken a look at your website, and everything is so tasteful, and there's so many different options and ways to wear it. I know you have stackable pieces, which
Yes.
You're the designer. Can you tell us a little bit more about some of the inspiration behind your designs?
Well, I have to say, I'm kind of not a one necklace kind of person. You know, I have real difficulty paring back down. I'm actually wearing 2 different lengths myself because I just get like that. And I love that layered look when you add them on. And another thing I'll often do is I'll take a necklace and I'll just wrap it as a bracelet sometimes, just depending on how I feel. I like it when you can mix and match, and stackable ring look has been a big trend for a few years. And very often what you'll find people doing, particularly mamas, is that they'll get one for each child. Recently, I did some lovely custom pieces for a lady. She never got a push present. And she said, you know what? The kids are 10 and 7 now. I'm getting this for myself. So she got a blue topaz ring, and then a ruby and a diamond. So there was, her and her husband had topaz as a birthstone, and then one for each of the children. And we did a slightly different design for each one. And it ended up being just sort of a lovely gesture for herself. And she knew she put a point, she deserved it, you know, 2 children. One of the things maybe it's the age or something, that when women have had 1 or 2 kids, there gets that stage where they'll say, you know what, I've always wanted this, and I just decided I'm going to do that this year. I've always wanted this. And what's funny is they think like their husbands are going to go, oh, why are you spending that? And instead the husbands go, sure, okay, yeah, that sounds like a great idea. Yeah, and that's it. And I always, sometimes we have this sense as mothers like, oh no, I couldn't, next year, next time, next month. But, you know, when is the right time?
Oh, I agree with you. We absolutely do deserve it. And I know that as women, mothers, and military spouses, we are so used to putting everyone else first and, you know, make sure the kids are sorted when we move, you know, making sure sometimes for me that my husband had his PT belt before he went out the door. I always knew where everything was. And it is easy to, anytime you shop, to buy something for them first, you know, to put their needs first. Yes. But I've done exactly what you've said, where I said, you know what, I'm old enough now. I've done all these great things. I deserve to have this nice piece of jewelry, this nice perfume, whatever it is. And I think that everybody has been there. We have that opportunity where we think, oh no, we're not worth it. But you know what? We are absolutely worth it. There is no reason that we shouldn't treat ourselves. And even if it's asking your spouse, hey, for Valentine's Day this year, I would love a piece of jewelry from the Jewelry Republic, or for our anniversary, my birthday. Even, you know, when your spouse gets out of the military, that's a milestone, because maybe he's retiring, but you've been there too for 15, 20 years. So I think it's wonderful to step up and say, you know what, this is something I want. I feel I've earned, I deserved, and I'm absolutely worth it.
It is true. And I think also it's the sense of wanting something that's quality. I mean, I am a big fan of Marie Kondo. I've read all of her books. And at this point, I really do feel like the sense of not buying a whole bunch of junk, but actually buying something quality, something that lasts, something that's meaningful. And then that sparks that joy for you. And that's the difference. I myself, I feel like paring it down and just focusing on quality, even with the wardrobe, just focusing on the quality pieces, the key pieces. This is what it's about now. And I think we're all starting to see that with this crazy consumerism and materialism, that it's actually the paring it down that makes you happier, So, go ahead.
I was going to say Marie has just hit the States. I mean, so hard because we have Netflix over here and her show is streaming.
Yes.
And so I watched one episode. I instantly purged all the clothes. And everybody's doing it. Yes.
Didn't you feel good though afterwards?
I did. It was a little emotional, but I did as she said, and I thanked it. And I was like, I've had a lot of nice evenings out in this dress. Thank you, but I'm done. And it just feels like a load has been lifted, and everything I have now is important. It is essential. It's something that I know I will wear. It's not just taking up space. And I think that's wonderful that you likened it to jewelry. I just bought my son's mood rings the other day, and on the exact day, their fingers were green, and I had to explain, well, this was cheap.
Yeah, those allergies too. Yeah, that will happen with anything that has a poor alloy in it a lot of the time. Yeah. Even on the topic of moving and these overseas, when you keep moving, we moved to Bangkok and we took 2 suitcases each and a pair of English bulldogs, and we had all of our pieces had been boxed up and ready for shipment, right? And we were going to do you send them around the world and then you unpack it all. And we had put it off for a month or two for some reason. And at some point I said, Greg, I don't think that we need all these things to be moved with us. We're doing fine without these things. So we had this whole house of stuff, and we moved with the 2 suitcases and we never moved those things. And suddenly we found, all those things we thought we need, I couldn't even tell you half of what's in there anymore. And we learned to live with just the 2 suitcases. I'll say we've got more because we have a child, and children seem to accumulate the things. It's like Legoland Bangkok around here. Need as much as you think, or you realize that we were just people the last 12 years. And I would dread to think some of the clothes that are in there that don't fit me, that, were from my, mid-20s, we'll say. And I know they don't fit. And I know I wouldn't want to be caught dead in them either, So it's all these things. You realize how little those things matter. But then, what does matter? It's the things that last, and it's the experiences that you have as well. So big proponents of all that.
For sure. Because for me, as I'm cleaning this out, I'm like, it's just stuff. But some things do have that significance, that sentimental value. And I mean, jewelry arguably is a very emotional purchase. When I think about the finest pieces I own, it's an engagement ring, a wedding ring. My grandmother gave me a diamond necklace that she's had, that she was given as an anniversary gift from my grandfather. Mm-hmm. And so when you think about, well, what could I treat myself to, or what could I ask my spouse for? And a piece of quality jewelry that's going to last is ideal.
Well, I do think it's a great measure of a milestone because it lasts. Gold won't tarnish if it's solid gold, 18 karat. 14 karat is good too, but 18 preferably, either way. Gemstones will last. They carry on for generations. Those things, like the grandmother's pieces, sometimes what we'll do as custom work, somebody will say, well, I have this ring from my grandmother and maybe it doesn't suit, but they love the stone, and then we redesign it. And so they have that sense of, well, I'm carrying this piece that my grandmother carried as well. And that's lovely. Those are the things that end up being the most sentimental value, or those milestone pieces. She got this for her wedding, or my mother got this when she had me. And those are the things that we carry on. So there's a lot tied into it. And I'll see people being apologetic about, it's not big. It's like, but it doesn't matter. You love it. It's beautiful. This is a gorgeous diamond. It doesn't matter if it's big or small. If people are being apologetic, there's no need to be.
Well, what I think is great is that you do have a wonderful selection of ready-to-wear pieces that you can purchase online right now, but you also have customizable pieces. And then you can do these custom pieces. Can you talk a little bit about something that you have that's customizable?
Yes, we can do birthstones in pieces. So a lot of the rayon, and we can, here in Bangkok, we are exposed to so much of the gemstones that are traded and cut here, and we very often get gemstones custom cut myself, like rough crystals. I'll literally be my hand is rough. I want to use this. The color, we're going to have a much stronger color. This is the shade we're looking for, and we'll have those custom cut for pieces. And that's one of the benefits of being here in Thailand, is that we can do that, and anything that we do we can customize. Really, birthstones.
Whoops.
People think, a ruby is a sapphire. It's just a red sapphire, but they come in pink, purple, yellow, green, gray. I don't know why you'd want a gray one, but you can have any of those colors in sapphire. And so all of those things are anytime you see a sapphire ruby, we can do it in other gemstones as well. One thing I love with custom pieces, we also do engagement rings. And that's something I love doing, is the engagement ring part of it. You really see the romance in men at that point, and they can be just so endearing. They really want to make this woman happy and proud, and it's just a delight. It gives you all the faith in men in the world when you talk to them. When we're doing the engagement process, it's just delightful. I really enjoy that part of it. We recently did a lovely engagement ring for Ryan Smeltz of the Bearded Veteran, so shout out to Ryan. And he's a lovely guy, and it was just so much fun back and forth, and thankfully she said yes. And he did a big proposal, and he did a song. He actually composed a song, and I love it when they share that with me, because otherwise how do I know, what ended up happening? I was like, please share, send me wedding photos, and I do love all that. So that's part of the fun, because you feel like you're part of this big moment in someone's life, however minor a role you play. So yeah, we like doing the custom engagement rings or milestone pieces or anything like that. Now, I will say, excitingly enough, we're going to be doing some very fun, this is a new project, we're going to be doing, and I won't say too much, but we are going to be doing some custom pieces for the guys. And if anybody ever wants to contact me on that, I'd love to trial that with them for commemorating service. And we're really excited to be able to do that. So pieces that commemorate their service and their rank, and that we can incorporate these in a tasteful way onto rings. And so too, because you see men wearing more jewelry now. They're more confident, tasteful. And you see a lot of the guys wear bracelet or beads or leather straps with piece. And I really like the look, actually. Greg does it too. He's wearing some himself. He does the leather pieces with gold that he made himself, actually. So it's going to be in 2019 from us.
That's very exciting. My husband just got out of the Army, and I was thinking, what do I get him? And I love knowing that that's available, because yes, as you said, there are promotions, there are retirements. Mine separated from the service. He's ETS'd. And so there are lots and lots of reasons why you can celebrate that. And again, you offer a military discount. It's customizable. And I think these are so wonderful, wonderful attributes of how you're serving the military community. You as a Milspouse, your husband is a Marine Corps veteran. I think it's wonderful that you're keeping in touch with that community, because we do know what the lifestyle's like, and how important it is to celebrate, because it is amazing every time they come home. It is amazing when we rebuild the family at every duty station. And I think it's just,
yes.
Yes,
I do. I remember, and my heart goes out to any of the women who are having to hold the fort down themselves at the moment, because that is not easy. It is not easy. So all credit to you guys.
And if you want to treat yourself to a nice piece of jewelry after that,
I know, deserve it at that point.
Absolutely. Well, can we talk a little bit about what would your advice be to military spouses who do want to launch their own business?
Okay, I love this. Especially when you're a trailing spouse, and I see that a lot here because I'm out here in Thailand, and you see a lot of people coming out with embassies. There's a lot of people out here with the U.S. Embassy, with the State Department, and some of you may transition, your husbands or yourselves may transition into the State Department. It's a very natural transition for many people who are in the military, and as the trailing spouse, then you often can't find a job, or you're not allowed to have a job in a certain country in your old field. So you are left in that place of, what am I going to do? And you end up starting your own business. And for many women, I do see there's a natural tendency toward design, whether it is jewelry, bags, baby clothes, scarves, or any fashion items. We naturally want to adorn. This is what we do. And I will say that when I deal with a lot of designers. We are also a fine jewelry manufacturer for brands around the world, a lot of them in the US, very high-end brands, red carpet type brands. And what we do is produce their designs exclusively for them. And that is, so having seen the successful designers and debut brands and unsuccessful designers, you'd start to see patterns. And I think for anybody who wants to design, you really have to own it. You have to take responsibility for your design. So what that means is, even if you're no artist, that you commit to figuring out, what size should this be? Okay, how deep is this? It doesn't matter if you can't do fabulous sketches. All we really need is the sense of it, and we need dimensions. Now, why is that important? Well, okay, say you send this sketch off to some manufacturer who's going to make your piece in Asia, and let's say it's jewelry, and you don't put dimensions on there. Well, gosh, guess what he's going to do? He's going to make it heavy. He's going to make it expensive, because then he can charge you more. Whereas if you really think about it and you go, no, hold on now, I'm going to own it. This needs to be 1 millimeter thick, 2 millimeters deep, and typically it's in millimeters. That's why I'm not saying inches. For jewelry, it's millimeters. Write that down, get that sketched, own those decisions, because otherwise someone else will own them for you, and their interests are not necessarily in line with yours or your budget. So that's one key piece, is own that design and get it down on paper, get those notes on. If you are going to be manufactured overseas, I do think it's important, get an NDA going, NDA, non-disclosure agreement. You can find those online. It doesn't have to be some watertight 30-page deep thing. It can be a page or two. And what it's doing is saying, hey, I take this design seriously, but no matter what it is you're designing, and you're saying, I take it seriously, and it'll be a note to whoever's manufacturing for you. Okay, this person, I do have an NDA, and in many countries, people think, oh, that won't work in Thailand. Actually, in Thailand, intellectual property laws are actually very strong, and you can sue somebody who copies your design and sells it out the back door to somebody else. So I would say NDA, very important. You do that. And I think also just to you can start with samples, but what you want to do is have this in writing, that you own any molds or any CADs that relate to your designs. Why is that? That is because I get a lot of jewelry brands who come to us for manufacturing having been burned elsewhere. They may have been burned in China or in India or somewhere like that, and they're going, well, I can't get, and I say, can I have your molds? And they go, why? They won't give them back to me. And this is why it's important to get in writing that anything that is a mold or a resin or a CAD, you must have control over those. Okay, ask for a copy of them. Ask in writing that those will be sent to you within a reasonable time frame upon your written request. Because what ends up happening is, if you don't, you have to start over with a new manufacturer. And now suddenly your new run isn't quite the same size as the old run. And you're wondering why, and how do you fix that? And now you're deeper in costs, and now you're having to pay that new manufacturer to develop those molds, to develop those CADs. So it's very important that you know that, no, whatever your company is, you own that. That is your intellectual property. Protect it. Okay, so that'll be the biggest points for me to please share with anybody who wants to work in design.
Oh, that's fantastic and very, very useful because I could see how easily it would be to get burned if you're just starting out and you don't have those levels of protection in
Oh,
place. Huh.
yes.
Especially working in other countries too, because I know there are a lot of restrictions and regulations. And so I think the more proactive you can be up front, the better. So thank you for those tips. So,
No, no problem at all, because you don't know who you're going to work with. I mean, one of the things that like we have our own factory, we have our own manufacturing, and we think that's really important. And that's also important for the clients that we work with at Spokes Jewelry, which is our manufacturing arm. We do it all in-house. We don't outsource things. We do casting, we do setting, we do polishing, we do CAD, we do 3D printing, we make molds. Why do we do that? Because that everything is under our roof. Nothing's escaping out there. Nothing's on the way out there. And it's important to us, and that's important to our clients, because they may be in Hong Kong.
mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay, so they may seem very fair, but the guy that they're outsourcing the printing of your T-shirts to, he didn't sign that NDA. What does he care? He doesn't have a problem with selling them out the back door. So I think all of those things, they're worth bearing in mind. I know it can seem very daunting to do overseas manufacturing, but more and more, if you need the scalability, or you need just the cost basis, you do need to consider it. And technology does allow us to do that now in a way that's much easier. Can you imagine doing it before the internet when you had to fax your order?
No, not at all. So do you have any advice also for working with your spouse? Because I think that in itself is pretty fascinating that the two of you have teamed up and launched the Jewelry Republic together.
Well, we originally had a shared desk. I don't recommend a shared desk. But you know, when you start out, like we hit up the as is section of IKEA, and we bought some from some company that closed down. We bought a bunch of gear from them. You make do to start with. You know, I always think it's kind of odd when I see these flash offices, and I'm going, wait a minute, is this where the money's going? You know, and I always sort of think that's a bit strange. We built up to where now we have a nice office and two separate desks. So highly recommend two separate. If you open my drawer, you'd know it was mine. Yes, I am the person with the rainbow color coded files, and they give me great joy when I open that drawer. I don't know what kind of order that's in, but you know, we have our own space and we do have our own departments within the company. But then at the same time, because we're in the office together, we share a lot. We're listening to one another's calls. So we're hyper aware of all the issues that are going on. So we share the space, and I think that's important. But at the same time, not shared desks. No.
So your advice is to each have your own desk.
Have your own desk. Yeah. And maybe it's a metaphorical desk as well. Do you know?
Yes.
Not just a literal desk, a metaphorical desk. So for me now, it would be gems. That would be my particularly say. Now, this is just an example. Greg does diamonds, where I would do gemstones. Greg is he's actually colorblind, so for obvious reasons, but he means that he's not going to do colored gems. He is a diamond graduate from GIA as well. But what it means is that the colored, if you're colorblind, you can actually see tonal differences better in the black to white spectrum. So he's actually really, really good at being able to spot the color within diamonds, which just scale, you know, from white. And that's sort of he's particularly good at that. So, you know, there's something for everybody there.
Oh, that's fascinating. Well, that's wonderful. And so he's certified in diamonds, and you're certified as a gemologist, and you're working on appraisal. That's fantastic.
Appraisal, yeah. You know, it's a case of I never want to stop learning. You're always trying to evolve, and no matter what your industry is, you kind of have to keep going. Don't stop. There's no reason to. And if you love it, it's not a chore to keep going. Instead, it's just opening up another world of things. I mean, I'm a massive fan of the Antiques Roadshow. I love watching it, and that's the BBC version as well as the American version. So, and I just love learning more now about the antique parts of it, and learning old hallmarks and what they mean. So, to me, it's going to be a lifelong. It's what I'm passionate about.
Wonderful.
Movies. Oh, sorry, you go ahead there.
Oh, I was just going to say your passion is so obvious. You're absolutely in the right career field, and I love that you're constantly developing. You're working as a team, and that you're building this amazing brand with such beautiful products. I mean, they're absolutely gorgeous. So I do highly recommend that everyone hops over to thejewelryrepublic.com to check out their amazing art and the fantastic military discount, which again, there's so many reasons to buy jewelry for your spouse or for yourself. And I think supporting a brand that's owned by a Marine Corps veteran and a Milspouse is very important.
And I will say, just to give my husband a little credit here now, because he did get, I'm very proud of him. The US Embassy gave him a Gold Star Award for the work he does as an American businessman here in Thailand and for the Thai people. And I was really just, it was lovely that they sent a representative from the embassy to present him with that in the factory. And our employees were also delighted and very proud of that. So, and that's lovely. I really admire the work that you see that the State Department and embassies do on behalf of the US globally. You know, maybe you don't see it so much in the US, but it is really impressive when you're out here.
Oh, that truly is. And congratulations to Greg. That's fantastic. I met Greg in September in Orlando. He flew all the way from Thailand to attend the Military Influencer Conference. And that's how he and I met. And then I got connected with you and your brand. And it's just amazing. I love everything I've seen. You're certainly in the right field. Keep designing. Don't stop.
Well, we do love it. And one of the things that's always fun, I was just thinking about this, for anybody who's thinking about a little gift or whatever, that you can also engrave. And I really like this, that we end up with all these little engravings, and you can do engraving initials or sometimes a little message inside of a piece. And that's something nice that can be done. And I'm always quite, particularly with engagement rings, I always say to the guys, would you like to put a few words inside of it? And boy, you see all sorts of things in there, you know, and but it's a secret little message between one to the other. And you also see the power of punctuation and spelling, and I will double check everything. Yeah, ever since my brother, we were doing his engagement ring, and somebody, for some reason, instead of sun, moon, and stars, you know, as in the sun, the moon, and the stars, there was somewhere along the line, somebody had put in son, S-O-N. And I'm thinking, well, now my brother can sometimes think he's all that, but we need to correct that one.
Oh my gosh. And as a writer, I know how much words matter. So especially if you're engraving it in something that will be there forever.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
That's it. Exactly.
Well, thank you so much again for your time today, Emma, and thank you for telling us a little bit about your story and how you followed your passion and how you and your husband have managed to launch this incredible business, the Jewelry Republic, that serves the military and veteran community. And hopefully today you've inspired some other military spouses who are looking to launch their own business or who are looking for a little something special for themselves.
Well, let me just say, if any of you budding designers or want to just send me an email and just have a question, I'd be very happy to help. So info@thejewelryrepublic.com, and I do check the emails. I check every email that comes in myself. So I would be happy to answer any little questions that you may have, and maybe I can be of help.
Well, thank you so much for being so available and for continuing to support the military spouse community. I think it's wonderful, again, that you understand, you've lived the lifestyle, you know what it means to be a military spouse, your husband knows what it means to serve, and you're continuing to serve in a very beautiful and emotional and sentimental way. So thank you so much, Emma. And for those of you, I will check out thejewelryrepublic.com to see what Emma and Greg have currently listed and what they can make for you that's very special to celebrate your milestones. Thank you so much for your time today, and thank you for watching.